Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 7 o'clock main news. In tonight's headlines, His Highness the Emir and his accompanying delegation leave the United Kingdom heading for the United States on a private visit. The National Assembly Speaker discusses regional developments with the Vice President of the International Committee of the Red Cross. Israeli jets attacked two high-rise buildings in Gaza as a long-term truce between Hamas and Israel is reported to be announced shortly. And US President Obama authorizes surveillance flights over Syria to gain intelligence on militants across the country. His Highness the Emir, Sheikh Sabah Al-Ahmed Al-Jaber Al-Sabah, along with the Deputy Chief of the National Guard, Sheikh Mish'al Al-Ahmed Al-Jaber Al-Sabah, and his accompanying delegation this morning left the United Kingdom, heading for the United States on a private visit. His Highness the Emir was seen off at the airport by the former National Assembly Speaker Jassim Hamad Al-Khrafi, Sheikh Shamlan Abdulaziz Al-Sabah, Kuwait's ambassador to the United Kingdom Khalid Abdulaziz Al-Duwaisan, and heads of the Kuwaiti offices accredited to the United Kingdom. His Highness the Emir, Sheikh Sabah Al-Ahmed Al-Jaber Al-Sabah, sent a cable of condolences to His Majesty Emperor Akihito of Japan on the victims of the landslides in Hiroshima, claiming numerous lives and injuring several more. His Highness the Deputy Emir and Crown Prince Sheikh Nawaf Al-Ahmed Al-Jaber Al-Sabah sent a cable of condolences to His Majesty Emperor Akihito of Japan on victims of the landslides in Hiroshima, claiming numerous lives and injuring several more. His Highness Sheikh Jaber Al-Mubarak Al-Hamad Al-Sabah, the Prime Minister, also sent a similar cable. National Assembly Speaker Marzouk Ali Al-Ghanem met with the Vice President of the International Committee of the Red Cross, or the ICRC, Christine Bailey, where they discussed regional developments and the committee's role in the Middle East conflicts, especially the ongoing humanitarian crisis brought upon the Gaza Strip by the Israeli aggression. In a press statement to Kuwait Television and Kuna, Speaker Al-Ghanem said the ICRC and other international organizations were doing their best towards the crisis in Gaza, which caused the death of over 2,000 people and the injury of around 10,000 others. Speaker Al-Ghanem then briefed the ICRC official on the daily challenges facing the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip, calling for efforts to help the Palestinians there to overcome the crisis. For her part, Bailey expressed appreciation over Kuwait's continuous support for the committee's activities, noting that the State of Kuwait is one of the major donors to the ICRC. Bailey said mutual cooperation between the committee and Kuwait help alleviate the suffering of the Palestinian people in the Gaza Strip, affirming that the Red Cross is keen on increasing this cooperation to address more issues of common concern. Egypt has brokered an agreement on a long-term ceasefire between Israel and the Palestinians in Gaza. Hamas negotiator Musa Abu Marzouk said the deal to end 7 weeks of fighting that has left more than 2,200 people dead would be announced shortly. The announcement came after Israel bombed two Gaza City high-rises with dozens of homes and shops, collapsing one building and severely damaging the other in a further escalation of 7 weeks of cross-border fighting with Hamas. Our correspondent in Gaza, Majd Al-Wahidi, has more details in the following report.
In Gaza, scenes of destruction are becoming a normal sight. But with Israel's rising attacks on the city's tallest structures, the landmarks have changed a lot. This is the Italian Towers complex in Al Nasser neighborhood. 2 days ago, it had several offices and shopping centers in addition to a residential block. But Israeli F-16 missiles were enough to turn this prominent building into rubble. Witnesses say that at least 70 families were forced to evacuate their apartments to the streets after receiving pre-recorded warning messages.
The building was full of civilians and families with no weapons, but Israel ordered us to leave, and now all our houses are nothing. I do not know when this nightmare will end. Who was sitting safe in his house is now homeless in the street or in the hospital. Imagine yourself living this kind of life. In seconds, we lost everything we once had, all our memories and warmth.
Shortly afterwards, at dawn, the tragedy continues, and Israeli warplanes fired on the 14-story Al-Basha building in the western Rimal neighborhood, causing massive damage. The entire building collapsed and 15 people were immediately wounded. The survivors are struggling from shock and trauma.
سمعنا زلزال يعني هاي المنطقة هذه
It looked like an earthquake. It was the most difficult night since the beginning of the war. My house is completely destroyed and the house of my relatives too. All the children are scared now.
Israeli army said that midnight airstrikes were only to target Hamas command and local centers. But this is not something new. For human rights and international organizations here, the systematic destruction of towers must end soon because the only targets are civilians.
We are calling on the UN, the different humanitarian actors, in order to act immediately to stop such massacres. Tens of thousands of housing units added to such destruction in Gaza. More families to the shelters in very bad conditions. I think it's in bad need for intervention. This is the real time to break the silence. This silence is encouraging Israel to continue their massacres against the people of Gaza.
Since the last 5 weeks, Gaza has been turned into a war zone with no clear political solution in sight. Bloodshed and destruction are the only reality. Millions of dollars is the cost of this building, and in seconds it was reduced to nothing. However, Gaza's psychological loss remains much more than all kinds of losses. Here the bombs fall and families don't only lose their houses, but also their sense of life and security. Majlou Hadi, Kuwait TV, Gaza.
Thank you, Majd. The United States started flying surveillance drones over Syria today after President Barack Obama authorized the missions in a move that could pave the way for eventual airstrikes against terrorist targets in the country. According to Defense Department officials, the initiative to plan intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance missions over Syria was contained in the order that allowed for the airstrikes against the targets in Iraq. Meanwhile, Syria has warned the Obama administration not to extend its air war against the terrorists into the country, with Syrian Foreign Minister Walid al-Muallim signaling that Damascus would not tolerate unilateral US strikes against the extremists, even in areas of the country the government no longer controls. As political divisions and infighting in Libya pushed it deeper into chaos, the newly appointed United Nations envoy to the country, Bernardino Leon, said today that he doesn't believe a foreign intervention can halt the North African country's turmoil. After meeting with his Egyptian counterpart in Cairo, Leon said that Libya needs international support to back those who want to fight chaos and want to do it through a political process. The remarks came as some Libyan lawmakers have called for international intervention to help stabilize the country, awash with weapons and dominated by rival militias and allied political groups. Meanwhile, Iran has voiced its opposition to any foreign intervention and the use of force in Libya, stressing that the Libyan people should determine their country's fate. Officials in Iraq said that a suicide bomber blew up his explosives-laden vest among worshippers as they were leaving a mosque in the New Baghdad area, killing at least 12 people and wounding at least 26 others. Elsewhere, at least 3 people were killed and 15 others wounded overnight when a car bomb exploded in the Baghdad neighborhood of Utayfiya. Dozens of people were killed and injured by suicide bombings, roadside attacks and car bombs, such as Iraq faced a growing insurgency in the west and north. The United Nations condemned what it called grave, horrific human rights violations committed daily by terrorists and associated armed groups in a widespread ethnic and religious cleansing in areas under their control. A US brokered agreement to salvage Afghanistan's disputed presidential election is once again being challenged as the campaign of second-place candidate Abdullah warned that changes must be made within 24 hours for the results to be considered legitimate. Abdullah advisor Fazal Ahmed Manawi said the candidate has serious concerns that an ongoing audit of more than 8 million ballots cast in a June runoff vote is not stringent enough to catch fraudulent ballots. The challenge from the Abdullah campaign comes as the Afghan Independent Election Commission and international observers race to complete their audit, which was expected to result in the election of the only second Afghan president since US-backed Afghan forces drove the Taliban from power in 2001. The process has taken on more urgency in recent days because outgoing Afghan President Hamid Karzai has stressed that he is leaving office in 1 week and expects his successor to be inaugurated on that day. Several Ukrainian shells hit a market area on the outskirts of Donetsk today, setting houses and shops on fire. The attack took place in an area considered to be a front line between Ukrainian forces in Mariinka district and pro-Russian rebels in Petrovsky district. Meanwhile, Ukrainian authorities said their forces had captured 10 Russian soldiers in eastern Ukraine as they were patrolling the border area. Meanwhile, towering columns of smoke rose from outside a city in the far southeast part of the country after what residents said was heavy artillery barrage. Today's incidents came as Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko arrived in the Belarusian city of Minsk today, where he met with Russian President Vladimir Putin during the Customs Union Summit. 19 people were killed when two microbuses collided and plunged into a canal in Egypt. According to media reports, the victims were traveling to a wedding party in the city of Luxor when the accident happened overnight. The report said that 6 people were still missing after the crash and that rescuers were trying to find them due to badly maintained roads and disregard of traffic laws. Road accidents killed about 13,000 people in Egypt last year. And moving to local financial news, the 3 main indices of the Kuwait Stock Exchange were positive by the end of today's trading session, with the price index gaining 19 points and settling at the level of 7,408 points. The KSX 15 also put on 2 points and registered at 1,199 points. This share of the Ajwan Gulf Real Estate Company was the top gainer of the day, while that of the Housing Finance Company suffered the biggest loss during the session. The National Council for Culture, Arts and Letters, or NCCAL, recently kicked off the 9th Cultural Summer Festival in a ribbon-cutting ceremony in the presence of Mohammed Al-Saousi, the Acting Secretary-General of the NCCAL. The festival includes many different courses in the arts discipline. The festival includes courses in English language, computers, artwork, photography, acting, accessory handicrafts, discussion art and oil painting. More in this report by Rinwa Japouri.
As part of the 9th Cultural Summer Festival, the National Council for Culture, Arts and Letters has organised a number of activities for children and the youth aimed at inspiring and encouraging them to learn new activities in a fun and safe environment. Summers in Kuwait can sometimes seem long and outdoor activities can be challenging due to the heat. However, the National Council for Culture, Arts and Letters has assured that children and the youth have plenty to do and to use their talents constructively.
It's of course the festival for the National Council for Art and Letters, and this is yearly they are making it, and it is very useful and it's so helpful for the children. As you see, Madame Rinwa, a lot of children that have attended tonight to attend this workshop. And who is presenting and giving the lecture in this workshop, Mr. Bashar Al-Yassin. He's a Kuwaiti boy that's really giving a very helpful and useful lecture. He's teaching the children how to draw. He's teaching the children also how to design.
Yeah, I enjoy my time, and I make a parallel time.
The summer festival includes a photography exhibition with 40 young participants showing that they truly are talented and beyond. The art exhibition in fact demonstrates that the youth are extremely creative and ambitious. There are an array of creative workshops being hosted on a daily basis.
I am learning new things, and today I learned how to make a skirt and the outfit of the pirates, and I want to know new things to be perfect.
The National Council for Culture, Arts and Letters is constantly providing a platform for children and the youth in Kuwait whereby they can be encouraged to express themselves in a positive environment and have the inspiration to further their dreams and talents. As we can see just right behind me, and as we just heard from a number of children, this summer festival is providing children and the youth with an excellent opportunity, as it has offered them a positive platform to build on their existing skills while learning art. From Shamia Theatre, I'm Rinwa Japouri reporting to you for the English News.
For a chance to see our reports again, please visit our YouTube channel at MOI Kuwait News. And to recap tonight's news, here are the headlines once again. His Highness the Emir and his accompanying delegation leave the United Kingdom, heading for the United States on a private visit. The National Assembly Speaker discusses regional developments with the Vice President of the International Committee of the Red Cross. Israeli jets attacked 2 high-rise buildings in Gaza as a long-term truce between Hamas and Israel is reported to be announced shortly. And US President Obama authorizes surveillance flights over Syria to gain intelligence on militants across the country. Thank you for joining us.